There's something to be said about NBA-ready players, especially in today's age, where there's really no time to waste. That's the debates people were having regarding this year's draft class. Is Jabari Smith the most ready NBA player? Or is it Chet? Is it Paolo? Because those three prospects seem to have the most built-up hype. Or will it be that fourth guy, that fourth unnamed player? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about a guy who was the 4th overall pick in his own draft class and had this very exact trait. And that player is none other than Alvan Adams. So what's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops with some more hoops. And today we're going to be touching on how good Alvan Adams actually was. So in the 1975 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks had the 1st overall pick, and they decided to select David Thompson. With the 2nd pick, the Lakers decided to choose the UCLA kid, Dave Myers, and the 3rd pick, Marvin Webster, fell right into the lap of, once again, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Hawks used both their picks on Denver Nuggets players who were still playing in the farewell ABA season, and Dave Myers, well, he wasn't good. That meant that the 4th overall pick, the Suns actually had the first grasp at a young prospect for that 1975-1976 NBA season, and they selected Alvan Adams out of Oklahoma. The Suns had a clear opening at center. I mean, Dennis Autry wasn't a bad center, but he was mainly seen as just a rebounder. Not a scorer, not a rim protector, not anything special really. But what if this Alvan Adams guy could provide some of these things? And that's exactly what he did. In his rookie year, Alvan Adams took the league by storm. His defensive rating for the season was a 95, which actually led the entire Phoenix Suns team. He also led the team in blocks per game for the year, and his rookie campaign was so impressive, he was named an all-star for the season. To put into perspective how absurd that is, the only player since 2000 to make the all-star game in his rookie season was Yao Ming. And that was also in an era where fan voting played a role and most of his votes came from China. Now, you can count Blake Griffin as well, but it was just his first season playing, but rather his 2nd official NBA season. Alvan Adams, he did so right out of the gate. Adams averaged 19 points per game, 9.1 rebounds a game, about 5.5 assists a game, which also led the team that year, and also 1.5 steals a game and 1.5 blocks a game. In terms of NBA rookies to ever average 15, 5, 5, 1, and 1 for an entire NBA season in history, here's what that list looks like. I know, it's pretty long. His overall box plus minus, his player efficiency rating, and FORP ratings all led the team for the season too, making him statistically the most impactful Phoenix Suns player for the 1975-1976 season. And actually, in terms of his defensive box plus minus, his impact was more than 3 times greater than everyone else in the team besides Paul Westphal. But that wasn't the end of his historic rookie season, because Alvan Adams was just one of 4 players to be top 25 that year in points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game, along with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dave Cowens, and George McGinnis. Those 3 all finished top 5 in MVP that year, with Kareem actually winning it. He also was top 25 in blocks per game and steals per game, which made him the only player to be in that class for that year. A rookie, by the way. Over the past 10 NBA seasons, here's a list of players who have done this. Just to prime Giannis. A rookie, by the way. The man in his first NBA season did something that in the modern NBA could only be done once by a guy who was in his only championship season to date. Now, you're probably wondering why Alvan Adams wasn't in MVP discussions based on everything I just listed. Well, even though Alvan Adams had a historic impact this season on his team, they finished the season at a measly 42-40. Now, granted, Kareem was MVP on a team that missed the playoffs, but at that point, the people were familiar with Kareem. I mean, him and Dave Cowens would share the covers of Sports Illustrated magazines, and George McGinnis was seen as an ABA icon who just came off his best statistical year in his last one from the ABA. They all had built a reputation to persuade the media that Alvan Adams could not prior to the season. But in the playoffs, he would try to do just that. In the first round against the higher-seeded Supersonics, Adams averaged 15 points a game, about 7 rebounds a game, just under 6 assists a game, about 2 steals and a block per game, as the Suns won this series in 6. And in the next round against the defending champion Golden State Warriors led by Rick Barry, the score was 104-103, Warriors winning with the Suns season on the line as they were down 3-2. And with all the pressure, Alvan Adams hits a layup with 12 seconds left in the game, puts them up 105-104. From there, Gar Heard would then block Jamal Wilkes' shot, and it forced a Game 7. And in this Game 7, Alvan Adams put up 18 points, 20 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block to lead the Suns in the Golden State and come out with a win, including 8 of his points in the fourth quarter, leading them to their first ever NBA Finals appearance in Suns franchise history, where they would face the Boston Celtics in these finals, who were the #1 seed in the East. In his rookie NBA Finals debut, Adams dropped 26 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block on 48% shooting from the field. But it was heavily overshadowed as the Celtics won, and Dave Cowens had an incredible 25-point, 21 rebound, 10 assists, triple-double. But after this game, it was actually Alvan Adams who played better between the two. I mean, Adams averaged about 22.5 points per game, 10.5 rebounds a game, 5 assists, a steal, a block, on just under 4 fouls per game from games 2 to 6. Meanwhile, Dave Cowens put up about 19.5 points, just over 15 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, half a block, and had 5 fouls every contest. Now for the series, Alvan Adams had a game score of about 20.4, while Dave Cowens had a 20.5. Game 1, Alvan Adams had a 20.9, and he had a 20.3 average for the rest of the series, while Dave Cowens had a 29.3 in Game 1, which was pretty amazing. However, the last 5 games, it was only an 18.7. And actually for the series, the Finals MVP, JoJo White, had a 17.8 per game from games 1 to 6. So for Alvan Adams to essentially outplay Dave Cowens for all but one game in this series, a top 3 MVP finisher that is, along with the real Finals MVP, we really have a guy here who came in year 1 and was instantly the best player in the biggest stage of the NBA world. We just saw year 5 Jason Tatum have a pretty poor series by his standards in the NBA Finals, but this was year 1 for Alvan Adams. But Adams dropped a double-double in games 2 and 3, in which game 3 put up 33 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block, and led Phoenix to a 105-98 victory. When the series was 2-2, game 5 is what some consider to be the greatest game ever played, as it was a triple overtime thriller when John Havlicek and Gar Heard exchanged clutch shots in the second overtime. Now, the one knock on Alvan Adams in this game was that he did foul out in the fourth quarter, which could have won them the game before they even hit the third overtime. To be fair though, so did Dave Cowens, Paul Silas, and Charlie Scott by the end of the game, but Boston prevailed 128-126. And the same result in Phoenix with an 87-80 score for Boston as well. But as I watched a recent Jimmy High Roller video about the truthful Finals MVPs, it's pretty fascinating that Alvan Adams most likely would have been so in his rookie year for the series. And if the Suns also won the championship this year, we would be talking about Alvan Adams as one of the most amazing players of all time, no matter what happened after. But what did happen after? Well, the Suns struggled in the regular season once again, only this time worse. I mean, Paul Westphal had one of his better years and got the All-Star nod for Phoenix, as Alvan Adams was still playing pretty good, but with a record that low, it's pretty rare you're going to get 2 All-Stars. Almost an identical stat line, though, for Adams from the year prior. But after this season, Adams would start to get less scoring opportunities with the addition of Walter Davis in 1977. However, Adams would still average about 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block per game consistently from 1975 to 1983 for the first 8 years of his career. Adams was truly a good passing big man as well. Some guys like DeMarcus Cousins may have that ability, but it can be costly with so much usage, and the turnover rates could be ugly. But Adams truly was a high IQ basketball player that was fundamentally sound and had a nice little mid-range ability too. In 1979, the Suns had a 3-2 series lead on the Sonics and lost Game 6 by a score of 106-105 after blowing a double-digit fourth quarter lead. However, an ankle injury kept Adams out for 3 of the games in the series, and had he been healthy, they likely win that game and therefore the series. That Sonics team went on to defeat Washington in the finals too, and with their stars being much older than the youth of the Suns, with their 1-2 scoring punch of Westphal and Davis, plus a healthy Alvan Adams down low, there's a good chance the Suns would have been champions. But by 1981, the Suns had what was probably their last chance of this era. They had the 1 seed and they went down, unfortunately, 3-1 to the 5 seed Kansas City Kings. The Suns came back and forced a Game 7, but they still did lose. Had they won, they would have played another below 500 team in the Western Conference Finals in the Rockets, with a chance to rematch a different styled Celtics team in the finals led by Bird, McHale, and Parrish, but it just wasn't meant to be. Other than that, Adams helped the Suns make the Western Conference Finals in 1984, but they were no match for the Showtime Lakers by then. And from there, Adams coasted until about 1988. But going back to the concept of the draft class, despite the peak of David Thompson possibly being higher than Alvan Adams, it's hard to argue against anyone giving more to the NBA than Alvan Adams in the 1975 draft class. He ranks 2nd in seasons played, 1st in games played, 1st in minutes played, 5th in points per game, 2nd in rebounds per game, 4th in assists per game, 1st in win shares, 4th in win shares per 48, 2nd in BPM, and 1st in VORP rating. He's top 5 in all 10 of those categories and is the only player top 5 in all those categories as well. Mind you, this includes ABA statistics, so it's even giving an unfair edge to guys like David Thompson and Marvin Webster. So in the end, who is Alvan Adams? How good was he? He was simply a sound big man with a very soft touch both inside and out, very fundamental with his moves, much like a Kevin McHale before Kevin McHale, with the major distinction being the mobility, high-class defender, a solid rebounder, and was capable of overcoming the pressure on the big stage as we saw in 1976. Injuries did limit him to an extent, and with the arrival of Walter Davis, we'll never quite know how Alvan Adams' career would have turned out if he was consistently given more scoring opportunities. But, what if he didn't foul out in Game 5 in 1976, pre the 3 overtimes? Maybe the Phoenix Suns have an NBA championship by now, and maybe it puts Alvan Adams on the map of the media. For him to never be an All-Star or All-NBA player again after one of the greatest rookie seasons ever is pretty crazy to me. But if he was a champion and a Finals MVP, I can assure you he would have gotten the respect and love from the NBA media, as well as his coaching staff. It's kind of funny because he ultimately got the deal that DeAndre Ayton complained about with the Suns, with not getting enough touches. Now, Adams didn't complain, at least to the public, like Ayton did, but that was the reality of the situation. Had he not gotten hurt in 1979, there's a good chance that they win a championship that year too. A few simple what-if factors could have made him a 2-time champion, a 1-time Finals MVP, and probably several other awards too that the league would favor him in, such as All-Star appearances. Like if he had about 6 of them along with that, which was very possible given his consistent high play for about an 8 or 9 year stretch, and maybe the media would have favored him more. I mean, he'd be a Hall of Famer for sure, but he definitely was drafted where he should have been, or maybe it was even too low. Outside of David Thompson and maybe Gus Williams, maybe World B free, nobody else in that draft class really has an argument over Alvan Adams. But I just thought that his rookie season was so spectacular and underrated, as well as underappreciated, that I just kind of wanted to talk about it today, and how he already was such a great player, but he was so close to achieving a legendary career resume, had a few things gone the other way. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really think it would be interesting to see how Alvan Adams would fit in today's NBA. As we know, today's game is a lot about floor spacing, but like I said, he had that soft touch that I think he would be able to mold into today's game pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to do it for me. Again, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.